to take charge. Fleets can concentrate power quickly, maneuver strategically, and strike inland from unexpected angles. Naval superiority enabled colonial empires, and maritime power enabled power projection far beyond the land borders and reshaped geopolitics for centuries. The first sea battle was recorded in 1177 BC. And as naval warfare evolved from bow and arrows shot from the bows of the deck to ramming vehicles, to cannons, to the great battleships of World War II, subsurface warfare, now we have carrier strike groups that project national power across all oceans, and Marine Air Ground Task Force that can respond to the nation's call. Then we look to the skies. Air power eliminated terrain barriers, introduced speed, reach, and height. It gave us vertical and strategic distance. Terrain no longer protected you. Air superiority becomes a prerequisite for freedom of maneuver on land and sea. Rapid engagement and precision strikes evolved over time. Surveillance and ISR revolutionized targeting. Air compressed time and space. War became fast, global, and real-time. Remotely piloted aircraft now show us that the distance between the warfighter and a battlefield have become irrelevant. Decision cycles shrink from days to hours and sometimes even minutes. The first recorded powered aircraft combat action took place in 1911 by the Italians. And they literally were dropping hand grenades out of the cockpit. Dropping hand grenades out of the cockpit. You can also hear stories where they just have a gun, a handgun, and they're shooting at one another, shooting down to the ground. That's where powered air warfare started in 1911. Now the Air Force executes operations like Midnight Hammer. That's how we have evolved since 1911 in the air domain. But humanity now looks to the stars. Space warfare. No geographic barriers, no borders, covers vast distances. High speed, global effects with extremely high valued assets that drive how we live our lives and how we fight our wars. Effects are often invisible and can be catastrophic. Dual-use ambiguity with civilian, commercial, and military adds to the fog and friction of war. The rise of gray zone tactics, reversible effects, and sometimes deniable actions make it a complicated domain. And space superiority now influences all domain superiority. Modern militaries depend on a global perspective space provides to maneuver, communicate, navigate, and strike across all domains. The pace of modern combat requires the persistent real-time data that space can provide. Speed of conflict has increased. Space becomes a domain where seconds matter. Seconds matter. In 1944, the Germans launched the V-2 rocket. It was the first man-made object to break the Kármán line, the 62-mile mark, where today we agree where kind of space starts. We define it as a Kármán line. The V-2 rocket was a bomb. It was a weapon. Think about that for a second for our domain. The first man-made object to break the Kármán line was a weapon. Was a weapon. Today, we have mission deltas, mission delta 4, purely dedicated to strategic missile warning. Ground-based radars that feed missile defense. When in 1944, the first bomb was launched to break the Kármán line. 1944, there are people alive today that were on this earth when that happened. 81 years. That's how fast the domain that we have to have superiority over, taking advantage of that domain, has occurred. 81 years. Each new domain fundamentally changes strategy, logistics, intelligence, and decision timelines. Across history, every new domain has introduced three disruptive changes. Speed, compressing the time of decision making that we have. Seas allowed faster global movement, air compressed battle space time, space reduced decision times to seconds. Each new domain has been decisive to the next. Distance has been another game changer. The collapse of geographic protection. Each domain adds new angles of attack and requirement for defense. States can engage without contact, proximity, or warning. And complexity. The complexity of the battle space. Each domain has become fundamental to the next. Modern war is global, multi-layered, and simultaneous. From one domain at a time to multi-domains simultaneously. Throughout history,